Good morning, Happy Valley, and welcome back to another edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. I'm your host, Richie O'Leary, and joined as always when we're talking football, our beat writer, Dylan Callahan Crawley. Dylan, some exciting stuff's going on with Penn State between spring practice, recruiting's in full swing, and a lot of other things. But before we get started, as always, we have to present our presenting sponsor. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Got to pay the bills.
Yeah, so we're sponsored by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is like one of the top ticketing apps out there for any type of sporting event, concert, etc. Use our promo code Penn State Rivals, all capitals, Penn State Rivals, and you'll get $20 off your order. It's only your first order, so make sure you use it wisely. If you are going to use it, actually, if you already used SeatGeek before, just make a new email and make a new account. Then use the promo code again, and then use it again, and then use it again. You get $20 off every time you order tickets from SeatGeek. SeatGeek, your go-to ticket distribution app. That was a long one. Anyway, let's talk some Penn State football. Penn State football is in full swing of spring practice. Blue-white games right around the corner. Another Tuesday practice was available for media availability. What kind of stood out from yesterday's practice?
Yeah, so another crappy kind of weather day here, across the Northeast in general. Just rain, kind of cold outside. So miserable. Everybody got forced inside to the bubble once again yesterday. What I thought stood out yesterday, as well as Zach Sayeko, our good friend over at Locked On Nittany Lions, who helps us over here with some things now and then. A lot of eyes were on Ethan Grunkmeyer yesterday with Jackson Smoke, as we mentioned last week on the podcast, was banged up. We did not know at the time the severity of the injury, but now, while we don't know the specifics, this is an injury for Smoke that, is going to keep him out for the indefinite future here. We'll see if he's available for the fall, but as of right now, he's not available, and that gives Ethan Grunkmeyer some more opportunities here to be quarterback number 3 on the depth chart behind Drew and Bo. But Ethan continues to impress. He's somebody that we watch every time we go into practice quite closely just because, true freshman quarterback, how is he going to adapt to the college game? How's his development going? And he's been really impressive every practice so far. We're only seeing 15 minutes of practice, so we've seen this is practice number 4. We've seen an hour of, Ethan Grunkmeyer working, and it's mostly been pretty basic things, but so far it's been really impressive. At running back, Cam Wallace continues to stand out in that race for the number 3 running back spot.
Trey Potts-Roll.
The Trey Potts-Roll. I don't think we saw Quinton Martin at practice yesterday. Don't quote me on that. But I don't think I saw him there, or Zach saw him there either. Which we'll see how available he is going forward this spring. Katron Allen was not at practice again, which perhaps he's a little bit banged up. Will we see him in the blue-white game? Maybe, but this is a guy already who's going to have a limited role, just like Nick Singleton in the blue-white game. So perhaps we don't see him. We'll have to wait and see there. But if we don't see Katron Allen during that, I wouldn't freak out necessarily. He's one of the key players for Penn State offensively. One of the guys what you're going to get week in and week out. I think they're going to take extra caution with him and guys like Nick Singleton as well.
Yeah. So now, reading over Zach's notes from yesterday, between Singleton and Wallace standing out, obviously, at the running back spot, but they're putting Singleton as a wildcat quarterback.
Yeah,
Isn't that just kind of ballsy considering Allen's not there and Martin's not there?
Yeah. If this was in season, absolutely. But since we're still or they're still during at least what we're watching, not basically non-contact, non-full pads. It's basically shadow work at this point.
Fair.
I think they'd be okay, but that is an interesting wrinkle. We didn't see too much wildcat in the past from Penn State. It was there, here and there, but perhaps we see more wildcat in 2020 four from the Nittany Lions, and it would make sense to have Nicholas Singleton in that spot. There's a couple other guys I think that could potentially be in that spot if they were able to work their way into perhaps a wide receiver rotation. I'm thinking of somebody like an Amari Evans. Could be a good wildcat if he was able to, consistently see the field at wide receiver. Because if not, and he's that wildcat, you kind of get an idea of where that's already going. But also, he does have experience at quarterback from his high school days, so could be something to watch there. Just thinking out loud. But yeah, we saw the wildcat. We saw the quarterbacks working on some RPO options, and as well as throwing some off-bound passes. Just kind of general work. But the RPO, that's not the first time we've seen it. We've seen it quite a bit here this spring, which Penn State under Mike Yurcich did not go with the RPO as heavily as Joe Moorhead went with the RPO during his career, which was quite heavily. So it definitely seems like and based off what we know Andy Kotelnicki did at Kansas, we're definitely going to see the return of the RPO at Penn State this fall. I'll just be interested to see how well it works with a quarterback like Drew, just because Drew's not your prototypical RPO quarterback. He's 6'5", 250 pounds, not as mobile as a Trace McSorley, as a Will Levis, or even a Sean Clifford. So how well will that work with Drew? We'll see. I think it would work quite well with Bo, obviously. But those are things to watch. Jack continues to be impressed by Julian Fleming, and it's easy to see why. Everything he does is at a much finer. He just does things at a much more.
He's just a better receiver. Overall.
Yeah, better receiver.
There's
everything's
no question
smoother.
about it.
Everything's smoother. Everything's cleaner. It's the other wide receivers are doing well, are showing flashes, signs of improvement. But you can see that Fleming was a part of the best wide receiver room in the country. Why he was, such a highly rated recruit. You're seeing that this spring in just these drills. So I think he's in for a big senior season, and he did speak with the media yesterday as well.
Yeah, and we'll have more on that soon. But going back to the RPO thing, I think for Drew would be interesting. I know he's not as mobile, like you said, but it's all about being able to read a defense quickly, having a read and react time, and also getting the ball out quickly. And I think Drew can do both of those things. So it should be interesting to see how it works, especially in year one of switching over to an RPO under Kotelnicki. So there might be some growing pains early on, but I think if you can get those solved if you can get them solved within the first couple weeks, you should be able to kind of figure things out with this offense, at least hopefully this year. But again, year one under Kotelnicki, so it will be interesting to say the least.
For sure.
I think we talked about the offense a ton. The only thing I think we had on the defense was Jalen Reed leading the way. He took over that line position that Tom Allen loves.
Jalen Reed's doing really good with that line position right now. And it seems like very likely that him and the likes of KJ Winston, Zakee Wheatley, King Mack are going to give Penn State very much one of the better safety rooms in the entire country this fall. Penn State fans should really be excited about the potential of that safety room. I know there's some questions at the cornerback position, but I think those questions there are going to probably, sort themselves out over time. And then the secondary should be one of the best secondaries in all college football. Linebacker, I think that's an interesting spot because you're replacing not just Curtis Jacobs, you're replacing Abdul Carter. Yep. Tony Rojas should step into one of those spots pretty well, in my opinion. I think we're going to see a big season out of him. Kobe King should hold down the middle quite well. It's that other outside linebacker spot that's really intriguing to me. Is that going to be a Keon Wiley spot? Is that going to be a Kavion Keys spot? What happens there is going to be really intriguing. And that would be probably what I watch the most during the spring game on the defense side of the ball is that outside linebacker position. can't remember off the top of my head if that's going to be the Sam or the Will, but either way,
Mhm.
that's what I'll be watching closely during that. And then the front is going to be pretty damn good at all things considered. I think denied Dennis Sutton should be taking a big step forward this year. How Abdul Carter makes that transition will be interesting, but they have plenty of depth at defensive end. Maybe not as much as last year, but still pretty good. And then defensive tackle is obviously really good with everybody returning that spot.
Yeah.
Now we'll see who all on offense or defense leaves via the transfer portal in a couple weeks. That opens back up on April 15th, so about just 12 days away from this recording.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I think that Penn State defense as a whole, you have to really feel good about it. That's why we didn't really focus on it in today's notes, just because we know a lot about that defense. We're
good.
watching some of the younger guys, but a lot of the questions right now are more in line with that offense, and some we didn't talk about with the offense, but Cooper Cousins continues to make way at center. And I don't know if it was throughout yesterday's practice after he left, but when we were there, he was snapping to Drew, and Nick Dawkins was snapping to Bo. Should we read into that? Probably
100.
not too much,
I
but
would.
but it also says something about Cooper Cousins' development to this point that they think he could potentially be that guy. So perhaps we see Cooper Cousins even be a starter week 1 against West Virginia come August.
Yeah, that'll definitely be something to keep an eye on. Cooper has been raved about as one of the best offensive linemen in his recruiting class, and he's showing why we ranked him so high. So
for sure.
Switching to recruiting, we have a lot of different tidbits. We'll just start off with quarterback. Matt Zollers, the Pennsylvania QB out of Springford High School, is deciding tomorrow. He just came fresh off a Georgia visit. We know fresh off a Missouri visit and fresh off a Penn State visit as well. Where does Penn State kind of sit in this race here?
Yeah, Penn State fans are not going to love to hear this one, but I think Penn State's probably third in this recruitment and into the final day. I think it's Georgia and Missouri in the front. I just don't know which one right now has the lead. Would I be surprised if Penn State was the pick tomorrow? Yes and no. I think, like most of us have said, this has really been a recruitment heading to this week that any of the 4 finalists plus Alabama, okay, let's be honest, Pittsburgh would not be the pick. Any of the 3 other finalists, not named Pittsburgh and Alabama, nobody would really be surprised by any of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Penn State has the chips stacked against them in this one heading into Thursday's decision. And it's gonna, I think, right now be Georgia or Missouri here. Missouri has a really nice NIL offer, 7 figures out there. I've been told. He says NIL is not going to be a factor. He's going to so we'll see. Other than that, the Georgia visit was really good as well here. So we'll see how that changed everything. He spoke to our Georgia rivals side yesterday after his visit, and the remarks were very glowing, to say the least. And something that's really, I think, really come into a factor here is the commitment of Beckham Kritza. His other finalists do not have a quarterback commitment yet. Penn State has the quarterback commitment from Beckham Kritza. Georgia told him he's going to be there. He's their top target. He's the one they want. They're only taking 1 quarterback this class. So I do wonder if the Beckham Kritza commitment here has played a little bit of a, not a major factor, but a bigger factor than maybe we anticipated early on now. We'll see perhaps what he says after his commitment. But either way, right now I have Penn State sent third headed to the final. Really 24 hours of this recruitment. He makes his decision Thursday.
Gotcha. So now shifting gears, does it just go straight to Malik Washington as a top target right away, or do you think they take their time and look into a couple other options?
I think they're probably going to, as a whole, just reevaluate the quarterback position. I think Malik Washington could very much be that next guy up, but I think they may just take a step back for a moment at the same time and just evaluate the position as a whole before deciding to go forward. Perhaps they do decide to move on to move Washington or somebody else, but perhaps they also decide let's just stick with Beckham Kritz in this class, and we'll go from there. So I'll be interested to see what they decide here in the next couple weeks about the position. Looking at their offer sheet. Here, give me 1 second. Let's just see who else they have offered uncommitted in this class.
Well, here's an interesting name that I brought up. I want to say I brought this up a couple podcasts ago, but so Kansas has a commitment technically at quarterback in David McComb out of Oklahoma. Now, obviously, Oklahoma, Kansas, a lot closer than Oklahoma and Penn State, but it is interesting because he did commit to Kansas when Kolsnicki was still on board last July. So. Right. He's not a bad prospect. He's a 5.73 star, number 34 overall pro-style quarterback per Rivals. Has some decent offers, nothing crazy, like Akron, Memphis, Toledo, Tulsa, Virginia Tech. So, I mean, it's not like the sexy offer list that you want. But he did commit relatively early, committing in July of 2023 for a 2025 kid's kind of insane. And his only visits really were to the Oklahoma schools and to Kansas. So,
right.
I'm sure if he got his name out there a little bit more, he might be available. But I know he also was one of the top performers per Rivals national recruiting analyst Marshall Levinson at the recent Elite 11 down in Texas. So he is a good quarterback. I would probably look into him a little bit, especially because the relationship is there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because you look at their offer sheet for 2025 pro style quarterbacks. And there's a couple guys uncommitted, but of the main guys, it's really Malik Washington and Ryan Montgomery. And we know what Ryan Montgomery has eliminated Penn State from his recruitment. So that really leaves Malik Washington as the last guy. Now, maybe they reevaluate their position. They move some guys up. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, that is it is a slim group now that they'll be picking from, and they haven't offered many dual threat quarterbacks this cycle by our position assignments for each of these guys either. So that's really all they got left on the board right now. There's a couple other guys that they've offered uncommitted: Sebastian Serco, Antoine Hill, Roy Thomas Jenkins, T.J. Lateef, the previously mentioned Ron Montgomery, and Malik Washington. But we haven't heard much about those Sercos, Antoine Hills, Thomas Jenkins, or T.J. Lateefs recently. So it would probably be tough to get into those recruitments. I know Lateef is starting to, not now, I guess for lack of a better word, now his recruitment down as well here in the last couple weeks as well. He has an official visit set to Nebraska. So it'll be interesting to see which way they go after Thursday if Matt Zollers does in fact commit to Georgia or Missouri.
Okay. Now, it seems like the hits just keep coming for Penn State on the recruiting trail, as it seems like 2 defensive linemen are going to end up elsewhere, and 4-star defensive tackle, a projected defensive tackle. We have a defensive end, and Trent Wilson. And it also sounds like Landon Rink out of Cypress, Texas, will also be going elsewhere too. Any ideas what's going on with those two? Is it just sound like it's like a done deal and they're both going elsewhere?
Yeah, I think. Well, Landon Rink is all but of a done deal formally right now. He's gonna be committed here on Wednesday, I believe, and that should be Texas A&M if I had to guess. And then Trent Wilson. I was just talking to somebody yesterday on the Oklahoma side of things, and actually Rivals on Parker Thune. I was talking to him yesterday, and as of yesterday morning, this was still a Penn State was in the lead type thing. I mean, this Trent Wilson stuff has come up really fast in the last, I guess, couple of days here. But then it got out quite quickly that Oklahoma, transitioning off Landon Rink for that spot, was moving their attention towards Trent Wilson. and with Trent Wilson. With Landon Ring going to Texas A&M, Oklahoma, I've been told, had a pretty nice NIL offer left in their funds, I guess you could say, that they were going to use for Ring that they could now, use towards a guy like Trent Wilson. And how much of a factor that played, not sure, but I'm sure at the same time it doesn't hurt as well. But yeah, he visited Oklahoma recently as well, so that visit went really well. I'm told. Believe that was Trent Wilson. So many different visits going on these days.
Yeah, quite a bit.
But Trent Wilson, the Oklahoma has always been a contender. Yeah, he was on campus last month on the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma's always been a contender, but the last couple of days here, they've really have made a strong push, and it unfortunately does not look like it's going to go Penn State's way. I can see a commitment coming here in the next couple days or weeks, really, and it's going to be tough, really, for Penn State. We were quite honest that we thought Penn State was in a really good spot here for the last couple months, especially after he gets out of St. Francis Academy, where Penn State has no luck. It seems like
Zero.
Penn State's in a really good spot here. He's been to campus, 8 times. That's really good for them. But yeah, things have changed quickly in this one, and it now seems like Oklahoma's in the driver's seat, and this one could end here. Probably this month, if I'd have to guess.
Yeah.
Now, Penn State, I presume will continue to, talk with Wilson and try to get him back on campus, depending on how things go at defensive tackle going forward. But as of right now, it's not going to go the Nittany Lions' way. It seems when he does make a decision here soon.
Yeah, probably. And there was something interesting to kind of piggyback off that. Tommy Rupley was on campus last week. Got an offer following his campus visit. He seems very, very high on the Nittany Lions. I talked to him afterwards. He has an official visit. He's getting ready to come back to campus in June. He basically told me, he's like, I got to figure some things out now. Like I got some interesting things. Because he had official visits to, I believe it was Rutgers, Northwestern, and Duke. Big academic kid. But this Penn State visit essentially was a game changer based on what I was told. So I wouldn't be shocked to see him kind of jump in the fold now that especially now that Wilson's gone.
Yeah, and what I'm really intrigued by with him is he also picked up a Michigan State offer recently. So are these offers going to continue to trickle in for him? If so, how does that affect his recruitment? Does that, make him slow things down perhaps a little bit? But, he's definitely somebody that I think is worth keeping an eye on. I actually wrote an article about this or include this in our nitbits for today. Other guys, that stand out, Jarquez Carter out of Florida. He's on campus for an official visit in June. And then Adam Shovlin, Connecticut, defensive lineman, probably projects to defensive tackle the next level. Somebody to know. And Halim Muhammad, somebody that we kind of forgot about for a while. Perhaps they circle back to him. He's got good size, 6'5", 260. I think the only thing he has scheduled right now is an official visit to Rutgers.
Yeah, he's interesting. I would definitely keep an eye on Halim Muhammad because he did like Penn State quite a bit on his recent unofficial visit. I think that was in early March, mid-March. I forget what that was. Like you said, there's a bunch of visits going on. So definitely keep an eye on him. Adam Shovlin's interesting because he might be a future... he's 6'6", 240. He probably stays a defensive end at that height.
Right.
Another name I'd probably keep a close eye on is his teammate, actually, at St. Thomas More, and that's Tyler Partlow. Tyler Partlow is a defensive tackle up at St. Thomas More. Now, Penn State is pushing a couple of the St. Thomas More guys. There's Jordan Houston at wide receiver. There's Charles Bell at cornerback. They're keeping an eye on. Obviously, Shovlin, who's a Pennsylvania native, they're keeping an eye on. And Partlow, now he doesn't have a ton of offers, but he has some decent ones. He's got the locals in the Rutgers, the Syracuse, the Connecticut, Bowling Green. Like, okay, decent. Then you see Oregon State jump in the fold recently. You see Washington jumped in the fold. So he does have some good offers. So it's someone to keep an eye on just because it's a defensive tackle, 6'4", 270 already. Defensive tackles are hard to come by. especially the top ones, because they're going to get paid. Like, look at the Trent Wilson situation.
Yeah.
He got NIL at the last minute and he's gone. And that's just, everyone needs a defensive tackle. And when there's a good one out there, everyone wants him. So it's going to be hard to find some like highly ranked ones, in my opinion, especially at this position. But we'll wait and see. Now, Penn State has a long list of visitors coming up. Blue-white games starting to develop into a nice little list. Nothing too crazy yet. I think actually Trent Wilson was on that list. I don't think he's on that list anymore.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if his recruitment gets to that point. If Penn State can get him on campus for that, that would probably be kind of a maybe a last ditch effort type point in terms of being able to
try to flip
extend the recruitment at that point.
Yeah. Michael Gibbs, offensive lineman, will be on campus from North Carolina. They do good with the North Carolina kids, especially the developing lineman guys. I feel like they get an eye on them pretty early, and they end up turning into pretty good prospects. So, Jalen Bell, Terrell Wilfong from Jersey. It's going to be an interesting list. But if you haven't seen any of the visitor lists, they're all on our website on the Lions Den forum. They're very extensive, and there's like 20-something names from the 29th the other day. So, yeah, definitely going to be a fun couple months of recruiting.
And I'm actually, I don't know if we added him to the list, but over the weekend, and he tweeted out this morning, 2026 athlete, top 100 prospect Marcelo Vitti will be back on campus tomorrow for another visit to Penn State. That's a big one to watch. Vitti going to be one of the top prospects in the country for 2026. He actually recently visited Michigan State and told our Michigan State counterparts, which I assist with up there a little bit as well, that he's still getting to know that new Michigan State recruiting staff, that new Michigan State staff in general. He's really going to be focusing on other schools right now. One of those schools is Penn State. So that could, I think Penn State, I should say, is sitting in a very good spot for VD early on. Now, there's also some really good programs in that recruitment as well. Tennessee was somebody he mentioned, and Michigan, I believe, was on that list, unsurprisingly, as well. So those will be other ones to watch. But early on, they've done a good job in this one. So just something to keep watching as we go forward.
Yeah, number 110 in 2026 class will be there in Marcelo Vitti. Number 64 in the 2026 class in Albert Hill will be there tomorrow. Jaden Lofton, a highly ranked 3-star kid out of New Jersey, Somerville High School, I'm very familiar with. He'll be there. He also has an official visit in June. So keep an eye on him. Missing someone else. Ace Brown out of Archbishop Hoban will also be there. There's a couple Power 5 offers. And then the weekend's going to be another big visit list because you have Justin Hill. Yeah, what did I say? Justin Hill, who's a 4-star Rivals 200 kid linebacker coming to campus. Xavier Bridges Brooks is coming to campus. Like I said, the list goes on and on and on. There's just nonstop visitors this spring for Penn State. Anything else really before we sign off here? I don't think there's anything too significant.
Another name going back to VD, I wanted to be exact here. He mentioned the schools most in contact with him on a consistent basis are Wisconsin, Penn State, Tennessee, Kansas, Purdue, and Boston College. That is a very winnable recruitment for Penn State if things continue to trend that direction. So just on the watch there. But another name to watch, a tight end. And I still think Penn State has a good chance with Andrew Olish, but let's be honest, Andrew Olish's recruitment has really
taken off,
gone to a whole different level. I think he's up to 40 plus offers now. Brody Lennon, a 2025 tight end out of Ohio, was on campus this weekend. Took an unofficial visit, and that visit went really well for him and for Penn State. I expect an official visit to get scheduled, and that's going to be another one to watch at that tight end spot. We mentioned Lincoln Cure in the past as another tight end in the 2025 class to watch. That one does seem to be trending away from Penn State after the Nittany Lions were a top contender for a while. I still think they could, have a shot at that one, but
Mhm.
things are definitely trending away. So I think Penn State is definitely, making sure they have options here in case the Andrew Olish recruitment goes elsewhere. But I still like their chances there. Yeah, I think that is it.
Okay. All right. For me and Dylan, that's another episode of the PSU 365 podcast. Signing off.